Hello and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
Together again. So nice to be together again.
We might as well start out silly because this is just going to be a silly episode.
It's going to be a silly episode. The subject matter warrants silliness for sure. But yeah, it has been a few minutes since we got together and recorded an episode, so it's good to be back together doing this again.
Yes.
Life just gets busy, and between travel schedules, work schedules, and whatever else is going on, it just happens sometimes. We need to take a break and step away. What's that? You went to the Alamo?
Or just going to the Alamo.
Going to the Alamo.
Yeah, just going to the Alamo.
Kids going back to school.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I forgot about going to the Alamo.
Wow.
Yeah, we went there right away. Right away.
You have 6 kids going back to school.
How do you do it?
Yeah.
How's that? Are you just excited?
It's a mixture of excitement and a lot of stress and anxiety because it's a constant, like, do we have everybody where they need to be? Do we have our schedules synced up so we know what we're supposed to be doing? Last week was really rough. There were a lot of nights where it was like, oh, we've got back to school night, plus I've got a meeting, plus we've got... It was a little crazy last week, but we made it through the first week. Hopefully it gets easier.
Do you have like one of those push pin maps with all the strings like in the detective movies to make sure that everybody's going where they're supposed to go?
I think that would just be too time consuming if we tried to upkeep something like that.
And there's technology now.
Yeah. No. My wife does usually get a big calendar that she has on the wall, and so she writes down, and it's color coded for each like kid and parent and everything, so we know what's going on every day. But it's crazy. So we've got 6 kids going to 4 different schools.
Wow.
So, and then they have activities after school, and
half of my kids are involved in some after school stuff already with sports like volleyball and football, and then doing some cheerleading stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. We get to this point in the year, and like once school starts, like Christmas comes right away. Like I feel like it's the end of the year, and we blink and it's over. So it just gets crazy busy from here on out. So,
man.
But in between all of that, I have been doing well with my running and walking and training for the 10K. You two have also been doing really well with that stuff as well. Val stuff.
Now you're power walking.
I haven't ran once.
You're power walking these conventions, man.
Yeah. I mean, I did jog. I jogged up a hill. I jogged up a hill in Canada. I went into this park the day that I was going to leave Canada. I had a whole bunch of time. So I went into this park and I got lost. I know that's really shocking to everyone. So I was running late. I had a time that said, like, my alarm went off. You need to leave the park by this point because I have to return the car. It's 35 to 40 minutes away from where I'm at. And then you return the car and then get into the airport and it goes off. And I'm like, okay. So I start walking back and just asked a lady on the way out. I'm like, so getting out is this way, right? And she's like, actually, you need to go this way and then do the thing. And I'm like, okay, I already went that way, but like maybe I missed something. So I backtracked and then ran into somebody else. And they're like, no, you went the wrong way. So now I'm going up the incline to get out. And so I'm like trekking it. And I have been walking this place that has like uphills down here. There's stairs to get up to one point. All day. I'm like, this is great. Getting the exercise, seeing the birds, like walking bridges. Now I'm trekking it up this hill 2 hours later. and trying to get to the car. And I'm like, I showered this morning, but nobody on the plane is going to know that because I'm the stinkiest person there.
You're like, I'm going to have a leisurely walk through the park. It'll be nice.
So I did break a sweat, if that counts.
That totally counts.
Okay.
Hills
that totally counts.
The Salt Lake rock and roll Salt Lake half marathon went on over the weekend, and that course I thought about signing up because I did the one in Vegas, and I'm like, that was kind of fun. And then I looked at the course and I'm like, nope, because it starts in downtown Salt Lake, goes up to the Capitol, goes up the avenues up to the University of Utah.
That's gross.
And then around and then back down. And I'm like, that's like 6 miles of hills that I don't need. So I'm going to pass.
Yeah, that sounds awful. That sounds miserable. There are parts of Salt Lake City that are pretty hilly and pretty awful.
Up the avenues?
Walk up and run.
Yeah. And it didn't start until 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like,
oh, that's going to be sweaty.
Yeah.
So
gross. Gross. Those are the things that we're trying to avoid. Disneyland in general is pretty flat.
And if you do enjoy those things, great. It's just
absolutely.
It's just not for us.
If that's your thing.
Yeah. That's not our thing. But I'm glad there are people that enjoy it, which is good. But we are, if you guys don't know, I mean, you guys know, but I mean, people listening, if they don't know. Yeah, if you're new to the show, we are raising money for the American Cancer Society. Our goal is to raise $2,250 before the end of December, something like that. I don't know the exact date, but before we run 10K, this is the weirdest thing that I've ever done. I'm asking people to donate, and if they donate enough to reward them, I'm going to run 10 kilometers. I don't know what's going on in my mind, but I'm excited to do it. And I think those that have been listening for a while know that I'm probably the most hesitant of the three of us about doing this, and I'm getting pretty excited about it.
That's awesome.
We've talked about it, and we've talked about what it's going to look like and what the experience is going to be, and I'm excited. But I'm really excited because we are almost to our halfway mark. We're at $1,043. We would love to hit 1,125 by the end of this week. That would be fantastic. So if you're listening to this, even $5 will help us get there. We will make sure that we post a link in both the description for this video as well as any of our social media posts to promote this episode, so you guys can easily find the link to make that donation. We appreciate any contribution at all. It's huge.
Absolutely. And everything that you donate goes directly to American Cancer Society.
Yep.
We're paying for our own Disney trip. We're paying for the tickets to the park. We're paying for everything. Everything you donate goes directly to American Cancer.
Yes.
That's the other thing. I'm paying to fly somewhere and stay in a hotel so I can run. What is the choices that I've made in my life?
The morning, friend.
But we're running at Disneyland. That's the only reason we're doing it. Like, if not, I would just pay Tracy the money again and just be like, here's my donation. I love American Cancer.
I'll cheer for you when I wake up. Or I'll congratulate you when I wake up.
But it's at Disneyland. So I know that I'm going to be running towards happiness. I'm going to be running through happiness. And then when I'm done running, there will be sugary churros and beignets waiting for me to stuff my face. And then I'm going to watch fireworks and cry, because I do every time. And I get to play the Spider-Man game with my best friends. So I'm super excited about that.
I haven't experienced.
You bet. You got to start getting, because it's this. And I have to tell you, I practice every day. I do 25 of these in the morning, and before I go to sleep, I brush my teeth, and then I do 25.
All right.
So I'm just telling you, so far, everyone that I've played this game against, I have won.
Ooh. My youngest son is coming with us, and he has talked nonstop about him practicing for the Web Slingers as well. He feels like he's got a pretty good Spidey form already, but I'm going to have to tell him he's got to up his game if he's going to want to compete. He's got to up his game a little bit.
He's cute, and he's a kid, but
it doesn't help.
I'm not easing up. You got to push the kids to be better.
Listen, with Web Slingers, it's probably like Toy Story Midway Mania or Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blast. There's no mercy because you're a kid. You don't take mercy on the people in your car. That's not how this game works. It's every
You
man
might be at the
or
most
woman
magical
for
place in the
themselves.
world, but you're going down.
Yeah. Yep.
Is it
So-
January yet?
I can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We're going to be very silly because we're going to be up very early come that Saturday morning, but it's going to be cool.
We'll do some live streams. I'm also going to be videoing the whole thing in a time lapse. So if I eat crap on Main Street, you'll see it because we'll share the video later.
Those horse carriage lanes, you don't mess with.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The rails that go. Yeah, I'm nervous. That's the part that I'm the most nervous about. Everything else I think will be a cakewalk, but that part right there.
You don't want to biff it that close to
the
end.
But here's the thing. It's towards the end, so I've already run 5 whatever miles.
Yeah.
And I'm exhausted at that point. I'm just trying to hang on and stumble across the finish line. I don't need extra help stumbling. That's all I'm saying. I won't need the extra help.
I also want to let you guys know that I think I'm going to prance across the finish line. You know that lady video where she's like prancing like a prance walk through like the park? That. Have you seen that video where she's like prance walking through the park?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do that.
I like this plan.
Yeah. I'm going to prance.
I think I'd like to go for the Cool Runnings ending. So I'm just going to break down right before the finish line. If you guys could pick me up and carry me across the finish line,
we will do
while
it.
Everyone else slow claps. I'm gonna
do the thing where the kid throws a fit in the grocery store and he lays down and the mom just grabs him by the leg and pulls him out. That's what I'm just gonna grab you by your foot and just pull you.
Just pull me out. That's perfect. That works too. Now, here's the thing. We gave you a hard time about this yesterday, Tracy. You're doing like what, 5-10 extra races just because of the great medals that you're going to win as a result?
I don't do this for fun. That's the thing. I do this for the medals. I do this to try and be healthier. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to be a better person and be on this planet longer. But the medals are what gets me. So yeah, I'm doing the Dopey challenge the week before. So I'll be doing 4 races there, and then I'm doing 2 races at Disneyland, including the half, because if you do at least 10 miles in both parks, then you get a special medal for that accomplishment. And so
I have a question. If you come in first, second, or third, right? Like you have the top time, do they give you a special medal, or do you get the same medal if you come in first and last?
You get the same medal, but they'll mail you like a plaque of some kind I've seen online. Yeah.
They should also give them a churro, right?
They also give them the banner when you break through the banner.
Oh, okay.
You get the banner. So
is that the goal this year, Tracy, to win the banner?
Dude, I've got friends.
I mean, I'll take it off the guy or lady that wins for you. I'll just
I was telling you guys yesterday, I'm like a 13 and a half, 14-minute mile. And then as the distance gets longer, my time gets slower, of course. But I've got friends who are doing like 7 to 9 minute miles, and it just blows me away. I'm like, I can't even imagine. Like I've got a friend who did the same. I did 9 miles yesterday, and I have a friend who did the same, and he did it in 7.5 minute mile per mile for 9 miles. Dude, I was dying at the end of 9, and I was doing 13 and a half. So
yeah,
I will never be one of the front of the corral runners. I will never see what the course looks like when it's empty, because I started this in my mid 40s, and I should have started way earlier.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting at least a little bit earlier because I'm in my early 40s and I'm doing this. I don't know if there will be more, but I've been running at the Oval, the Olympic Oval that's close to my house, because it's amazing. It's 65 degrees in there. They keep it that temperature all the time because of the ice. And so it just is so much better than running outside. And I like it more than on a treadmill because I feel like I'm at least going somewhere. I'm moving. Mm-hmm. But the other day, I felt like Sam Falcon from America, the Winter Soldier, when he's running and Steve keeps coming by. On your left, there was this lady there, and I don't know what sport she does, if she's just a runner or what, but she was just running laps. and she just kept running past me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not even mad about it. Like, that's just impressive. I wish I could do that, but
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when we talked about Brittany runs a marathon and the scenes where they're running and then the kids go running right past them and she's like, are we going backwards? Because that happens. There'll be like kids that'll like just take off running in front of me and they're going like lapping me. And I'm like, yep, I used to be able to do that.
And I feel like I'm Matt Damon at the end of the movie Air when he gets out on the track and he's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And he runs like 2 seconds. And he's like, no, this is stupid. That's me.
The other one that's great is the Parks and Rec where Andy Dwyer is like, everything hurts and I'm dying. And he's stripping off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll all keep our clothes on.
Well,
it's
okay.
family.
Yeah. I can at least promise that. I don't want to get kicked out of Disneyland after
I kind of want to be in Disney jail just one time, as long as I'm not banned from the park forever.
Just to experience it.
Yeah, I just.
So you got to figure out what the level is, like what you can do to get in to Disneyland jail without getting banned.
We just need our show to get big enough that we can request such things.
I was going to say what you should do is we should invite John Smith, and he's friends with all the policemen over there. And he could probably get us some kind of.
I'll make a call and be like, John Smith, get me arrested at Disneyland, but not really, just for fakesies.
I bet you he'd do it too.
Oh, he's known me since high school. If he could get me arrested, he would do it right now.
Yeah. You had me at get you arrested, Val. I didn't need to hear anymore.
And I'm pretty sure Babe would finance me getting arrested. So.
Not just support, but finance.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, because he knows it's what you really want.
It's what he wants. He just wants me to be a rule breaker. And I feel like I could be a Pee Wee Herman kind of rule breaker.
Oh,
but not like a regular person rule breaker. Because I think when Pee Wee does it, the way he does it is endearing and not malicious.
Right.
And so I think I could I need to learn from Pee Wee. Yep. But I don't want to be like Breaking Bad.
No. I mean, I don't know. It worked out in the end.
I don't know.
Right?
I haven't watched. I don't know. I've watched one episode. I know you do, but I don't want to be that kind of. I don't want to be in jail for that. For the rest of my life.
No. Those are bad people.
But getting arrested for stealing your own bike back.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be okay.
Yeah.
Especially a bike like he has in Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Sweet bike.
It is a sweet bike.
I had a very similar bike when I was younger. It was the handlebars up here with the white unicorn seat, and it had the streamers coming down. Oh, it was such a cute bike.
Yeah. We are talking about Pee Wee's Big Adventure this week, for those that haven't caught on to that yet, which is fine. And we talked about we've been talking about doing this episode for a few weeks since Paul Reubens passed. And we just haven't recorded it yet. So now we're recording it. I'm excited. Pee Wee's Big Adventure holds a special place in my heart because this is Tim Burton's feature film directorial debut.
Yeah.
And Danny Elfman's debut as a film scorer.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say I have a special place in my heart for this movie because I saw this as a double feature, which they don't do anymore, but it was a double feature with Better Off Dead at the Sandy Starship.
That theater doesn't even exist anymore.
It's long gone, but the Sandy Starship.
Crazy.
And double feature Pee Wee's Big Adventure and Better Off Dead.
I don't think there's any theater there anymore because I think the Cinemark Movies 9 is closed now too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the pandemic kind of took that one out.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So there's no theater over there anymore, which is.
I wish they would do double features though. Like if a theater chain would just on Sundays or Mondays, even if it's the first Monday of the month or something like that, we're going to do double features. That would be so much fun. I'm going to make a phone call.
And
Megaplex.
And double features that we're talking about, they're different than when you buy the ticket to watch all of the Lord of the Rings movies in a row.
Yeah, that's
or
a
all the,
marathon.
that's a marathon, but also a double feature was like you went and it was two movies that were just out at the same time, and they weren't necessarily related. Like I think they tried to group like family friendly films together and whatever, but like I mean, Better Off Dead and Pee-wee's Big Adventure, those movies don't tie into each other at all.
No.
But they're both classic.
And they do it at the drive-in.
Yeah.
Like you can go to the drive-in and you pick like the two movies that you want to see, and you don't have to stay, but you're basically paying to go see these two movies. And I hardly ever make it to the second one because I'm asleep. That's past my bedtime. But when I was younger and I didn't want to go to sleep, then made it. But yeah, I just think it'd be fun. It would even be cool if they could show like the original double features, because a lot of what like is in Pee-wee's Big Adventure is very retro. Like you're going into this world that kind of takes you back in time, and it would be really cool to see the double feature with also the newsreels in between the features like from that time. But there are very few theaters that actually run off of that type of that have the type. They can't run that film anymore. Most of them.
Oh, that
which is a shame.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you watch like the trailers from back in like the 80s and 90s, they are so different from trailers nowadays.
Yeah. So just think if you saw some from the 50s and you saw from the 40s, like when you had like the war reels and the news reels, like, that would be really cool. Like,
when I was a kid, I remember we used to go to the Murray Theater. That is also not a theater now. I don't know what it is. It used to be a concert venue and whatever, but they used to be a dollar movie theater. And they, at the beginning, would have this, like, I can't remember if it felt like it was either like the Pledge of Allegiance or the National Anthem or something, like this really old reel that they put on every movie that they showed there. And it was weird, but it was also very nostalgic. And it just felt like it fit in with that setting. And I would love to see some of those kinds of experiences come back. You know, we had the Villa Theater that's now a rug emporium. We had Murray Theater, which was a church and a concert venue and is just vacant now. And it would be nice.
They used to have a single theater at the Fashion Place Mall.
Yeah, a long time ago. Right, but they also used to have a Disney store there and a Warner Brothers store there.
I love the Warner Brothers store.
I worked there.
My grandma, my grandma worked there when it first opened.
Well, I didn't work there when it first opened.
I didn't think you were contemporaries. I'm just saying.
I mean, I know I'm getting older, but
my grandma was already old too when she started working there. Just so you guys know, it was like
it
opened in like
out of high school.
Yeah, I mean, if you were working there during high school, that might make sense at the because it opened in the 90s. I feel like
I worked there during college. I had like 4 jobs at the mall. I worked there. I worked at Zoomies because I also worked up at Brighton a couple nights a week, and then I also worked at the leather store. So yeah,
all right,
I got all the discounts.
So if you've never seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the story goes, well, okay, that, but also the story goes, Pee-wee's got this bike, and it's this really awesome bike. He keeps it under lock and key, and by lock and key, I mean an enormous amount of chains and locks when he locks it up. I mean, it's ridiculous. But even when he parks it at home, it's like in this secret garage that nobody can get to.
With passcodes.
And his neighbor Francis really likes this bike, wants it for his birthday. Pee-wee says no. He parks it, locks it up, and lo and behold, the bike gets stolen. And Pee-wee goes on this adventure to find his bike because a psychic says it's in the basement of the Alamo. And so Pee-wee heads off to go to the Alamo, and it's all the hijinks that are in between. Gets to the Alamo and finds out there's not a basement at the Alamo, and doesn't know where his bike is, and so it's the story of him trying to find his bike. It's ridiculous. It is over the top. It's everything that you would expect from Pee Wee Herman and everything that you would expect from Tim Burton, all wrapped up into one thing.
And it's fun because I got to imagine when they were putting this together. I mean, this was just an underground little group of people. Like Phil Hartman had never written a script before. He literally bought a book on how to write a screenplay and followed it to the letter. So this movie is 90 minutes long. The script was 90 pages. It follows every beat of the hero's journey, like exactly. Then you've got Paul Reubens, who's just starting to kind of get some traction with the Pee Wee character, but it wasn't, of course, a household thing. He'd been on Letterman a lot. If you go back and watch some of those, there've been a lot on TikTok and on Google. Some of the Pee Wee on David Letterman appearances are freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
Tim Burton with his first movie. And then Paul Reubens wanted to get Danny Elfman to score the movie, and Tim Burton wasn't sure. So Paul Reubens took him to 2 Oingo Boingo concerts, and then he was like, oh, okay. And so then they went and talked to Elfman, and Elfman's like, I don't know. And then his guy talked him into it. I mean, just the convergence of talent.
And then they made every movie together after that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, this movie is so important because it brings the people together. I mean, if nothing else, I think it's a fun movie. And obviously this catapults Pee Wee Herman into the public consciousness, because after this we get Pee Wee's Playhouse and then everything that happened after that. But even just aside from that, you've got the Tim Burton, Danny Elfman connection that this movie, even though it feels like it's very different than anything Tim Burton, when you watch it, it's got his signature and thumbprints and fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, the coloring of the movie is fantastic.
So good.
Like, I get it was supposed to just be this little art house movie, but it feels like the coloring of the movie feels like a blockbuster movie. And it, and it's just so bright and so fun. And like all of like the robin egg blues that, come out in all of these different areas, and how crisp all the white is. And then, so then when you get to the danky areas, it's super dank, because everything else is so crisp and clean, like a Clorox commercial. And it's just,
everything in his house and everything in his universe is so bright. Like it is like red, it is yellow. And then you're right. When he gets into the fortune teller, and everything is black and blue and rainy and Yep.
This movie is responsible for me believing for years and years that the worst thing you could do was cut that tag off of a mattress, because that's what the guy said. That's why he had been in jail.
Yeah.
And I believed it. For a long time.
I mean, how many times did you guys watch this movie as a kid? Because I think I watched when we were
I watched it quite a few.
All the time. All the time.
And just like I said, I mean, it is so silly. It shouldn't work, but it hits. Even today, it still lands the jokes. And it just is, even when you know that it's coming, it's great. And I thought it was really sweet. All the tributes after Paul Reubens passed away. Like the Alamo did a tweet and it said, we have not had a day go by since this movie came out that somebody has asked us about the Alamo. We do have a basement in the gift shop across the street. We'll miss you, or something like that. They're like, we're not mad. We appreciate the publicity or something.
Yeah.
The roadside attraction where the dinosaurs are with Simone, like they painted a Pee Wee suit on the dinosaur. It was just really sweet.
Yeah. Well, and the talent that Paul Reubens had with this character that he created, and the dedication that he had, because at this point, if you go and you watch the movie and you get to the credits, it credits Pee Wee Herman as Pee Wee Herman. It doesn't credit, like he wasn't going by his name at that point when he was doing the Pee Wee character. It was a separate personality almost, and he built that
every
character
time
from
he
scratch.
Went out, he was that character. He was that character on the red carpet. He was that character. Like, it was very hard to kind of like separate himself. And I remember when he was in Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, the movie, and like trying to kind of, start something new, and it was very difficult.
That's
when he's
so frustrating. Like, you find this thing and it launches you, and then you want to do something different because you don't want to be trapped in this, but you're stuck there. That's gotta be frustrating.
It has to be. And I remember him showing up in Mystery Men as the gassy character. What was it? It was a weird name, but and thinking the same thing. Like it looks like Pee Wee, but it's not Pee Wee, and you just wanted him to do the Pee Wee laugh or something, but that would be very, very hard. And I think when you look back on what he accomplished as an actor and some of the films that he was in, aside from what he did as Pee Wee Herman, he still had a pretty decent career.
Yeah.
I mean, there are voices and things that you may not be familiar that he did.
Yeah.
Of course, Star Tours, he was Captain Rex.
Captain Rex, who's now the DJ over at the Cantina in the Galaxy's Edge.
Yep. And he just pops up in places all over, and he had an interesting career. He had an interesting personal life, and we don't necessarily need to get into that because I think he was a very unique individual as far as some of that stuff goes. Yeah. But the work that he did, I think, is undeniable. Yeah. I mean, he was just extremely talented.
And I think in the hands of a lesser actor and comedian, that character would be so annoying so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's just something so innocent and childlike with him that is just so great. Like, he knocks over all these bikes, and then they pull him inside and they're going to beat him up. And he's like, I say we let him go.
The way he delivers a lot of the lines, I mean, that one's great. And of course, he wins him over by doing the tequila dance. And
yes. I mean, one of the most iconic scenes from that movie, and that dance has been repeated and repeated and repeated.
I don't think you can hear Tequila without thinking of that scene.
I always think of Pee Wee when I hear Tequila. Always. Which is good, because the other scene that I do think of when I try to think what else would I know is Sandlot, when they're on the spinning ride and they start. Yeah. I'd much rather think of Pee Wee dancing than But I love it when he tells Dottie, like, I'm a rebel, a lone wolf. You don't want anything to do with me, Dottie. But like, that line delivered in Pee Wee's voice, and I can't do it. I can't impersonate Pee Wee, but the way he delivers it
back here, because usually his voice is a little bit higher, and he like goes back here and he's like, I'm a rebel, Dottie.
Yeah.
Like, he does it with his face.
He's
like,
good.
I'm a rebel. Like, in his mouth, you don't to be with a man like
He's trying to be cool and suave, as Pee Wee only can. Oh
yeah, and Jake, as he's wearing the red bow tie and the grease.
Dottie is the connecting tissue between Pee Wee's Big Adventure and Better Off Dead, because she is the singer at the high school dance, and she ended up becoming the voice of the main Rugrats character, Tommy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she went on to do a lot of vocal.
So much Rugrats.
Yeah, she's the voice of that. That's Dottie.
Well, there you go. So I take it all back. The double features were themed after all.
There you go. I had a major crush on Dottie growing up.
Yeah. Whew. Well, and that's great. I don't know. I felt like we just had to have you let you have a moment there, Tracy.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. The Francis character in this too, as a villain, I thought he plays it really well. That's the great thing about this movie, because it doesn't have a lot of people who are extremely huge at this point, right?
Yeah,
right.
And so everybody's really just acting their guts out for a movie that's ridiculous and crazy, but everybody delivers. And these kinds of movies only work, I feel like, when the actors are all in on it. 100%. Like, if they come in and they're like, this is stupid, I'm just doing this for the paycheck, it comes across on the screen.
Yeah.
And if they're in and bought into the project and everything else, then it works. And they take it seriously, it works, even though it's extremely ridiculous. Because there's nothing about this movie that isn't.
The interrogation scene at the bike shop just kills me every single time. Like, the camera angles, and he's like, it's like this sweater, and you start pulling on the thread, and someone keeps knitting and knitting, and they have like this one harsh light over the top of his head, and everything else is black. And then they're cutting to the audience, who's like slowly getting up and starting to leave, and he just keeps going. It's just delightful.
It is.
And the thing,
something you want to share with the class, Super Larry or whatever his name is.
Crazy Larry.
Great. Yeah.
The thing I love, so I noticed it a lot this time I was watching and listening for it, was the music that Elfman does. So he's like, when Pee Wee's out on the bike and he's going to the magic shop, like there's like this perfect Pee Wee / circus music going. And then when he finds his bike is gone, it starts slowing down. And then by the time it gets to the interrogation, he's like, I wish we had somebody who was like a real musical person on to talk about this, because it feels like they've dropped it like an octave and they slow it down. And now it's this creepy, tenseful during the interrogation in the basement where he's trying to figure out who stole his bike. And it's the same music, but it's now taken on a completely different tone. And I just think that is just so smart.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you listen to it, it's undeniable that it's Danny Elfman that's doing it. And it's really interesting to me because with both him and Burton, who have very distinct styles, they had that from the beginning.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously it's been developed and refined and tweaked over time as they've gotten better at their craft, but it was still a Tim Burton film. It was still a Danny Elfman score, 100%.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. That's probably the most Boingo score he's done. Like there's a lot of on that one. And then he moves away from that later. But I mean, the guy's still performing. He's 70, I think. And dude is ripped. Like he's in great shape and he is just performing. And it's just, I'd love to see him live one of these days.
If you follow him on Instagram, I think I've said this on the show before. It's an interesting follow on Instagram. He is everything you would want Danny Elfman to be, 100%. During the dark times of 2020, when we were all thinking we were going to be cooped up in our houses for like a month or so, you know, whatever, he, to pass the time, recorded a cover of one of his Oingo Boingo songs, where he did all the parts. And so he did the multi-tracking and everything. And then he did a video, and it was in his house because that's where everything was. And his daughter shot it because she was in his bubble. And his house is the creepiest place I think I've ever seen. Like old dolls and shrunken heads. But it is the most like, it's like, no, but this makes sense. Like the movies that he scored and the music that he's done. Yeah, this makes sense for Danny Elfman.
So I want to know, are some of those props in the movie just from his house, or did he take some of the props from Pee Wee and put them in his house? Because that sounds, some of those sound familiar as to being in the movie.
Yeah.
Dolls
it's
and creepy
possible.
Shrunken heads.
I mean, between Elfman and Burton, they probably had most of that stuff just on hand.
Oh, I've got one of those in the basement. Let me run over. I'll go grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like someday for Tim Burton to direct a film that was written by Neil Gaiman and then the score by Danny Elfman. I think that's my dream team for a movie.
That would be all right. I would watch the heck out of that.
What would the title of this movie be?
Oh, I'd love for them to do the film adaptation of the Graveyard Book.
I don't know this book.
Yeah.
I don't read.
Neil Gaiman did the Graveyard Book. It is like the Jungle Book, but it takes place in a graveyard, and it is, instead of a boy being raised in the jungle like Mowgli was, it's a boy who's raised by ghosts in the graveyard, and he's the only one that's actually alive, and everybody else around him is a ghost. And it is fantastic. It's cool. A great book. So that's what I'd love to see. And I heard Disney is it's so good, guys. Disney has greenlit something for the Graveyard Book, I've heard, but I don't know who's involved in that yet.
Gotcha.
But anyway, it's good.
I'm still haunted by Large Marge.
Check that one out. I am too. Well, who isn't?
It scared me. One, the things that scared me about her was, one, I thought, like, at that point, like, okay, all truck drivers are scary. And then also I was like, I don't ever want to drive those roads. Like, is that how they all are? I never want to drive long distance because that scares me. Like as a kid, I was just like, there's so much scary about the situation.
And everything up till then has been very light and very fun.
So a long time ago, we were driving back from Illinois. My wife and I, we were a lot younger in our marriage than we are now. And we thought, we'll just drive straight through. It's like a 17-hour trip. We'll just drive straight through. And there was a point toward the end where the roads did become like that. I think under normal circumstances they wouldn't be, but that late at night, yeah, they became very much like that scene.
Everything feels like that when you're tired and you have to roll down the window and
you turn the AC up all the way.
Turn down the music so that you can see better. Does anybody do that?
Yes.
Like, I need you to turn that down so I can see better.
Yeah. Everybody be quiet so I can pay attention to what's happening on the road. I can't see what's happening if you guys are making too much noise.
But the editing
kids don't get it, by the way.
The editing of that scene hits so perfectly because it's only on screen for like less than half a second, probably. But boy, is that memorable.
It is.
Blah.
Yeah, it stands out every time.
I mean,
and I'll tell you, it's just seamless integration of that animation into the movie. You can't tell it's animated at all.
If you're not aware of Jake's sarcasm,
it works.
That's what that was.
Yeah, Jake's got a very dry sarcasm, which we went to lunch yesterday and I mentioned that.
He doesn't change his tone.
Uh-uh.
So you're never sure.
No.
You just have to know.
I will tell you guys a story about my sarcasm offline. Sorry, I'm not going to share it on the air because anyway. But,
is that going to be a Patreon exclusive?
No, I won't even share it there.
I'm excited about that.
And it almost feels like there's really two big parts to this movie, right? There's the whole adventure getting to the Alamo,
right,
and then finding out it's not at the Alamo, and then him ending up in the hospital and waking up and seeing that kid has it, the famous movie star kid, the older brother from Wonder Years. If you guys are wondering who it is, the older brother from Wonder Years, who was a jerk in Wonder Years too. So I think that he just plays that character really well. He's probably the sweetest guy in real life, but he plays that character really well. And then it's him getting the bike back, and you've got the whole backlot chase scene. Yeah. We were watching it, and Ben says, I wonder if that's what the Warner Brothers studio backlot really looks like. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that is the Warner Brothers backlot.
Totally is.
Yeah. They're not going to build a set piece for what they've got there. There's like, I said it probably doesn't have as many characters in the background and the weird stuff that they see, like the pink and blue elephant and whatever. Like, that probably doesn't happen, but
not anymore.
It's fun.
Not anymore.
I've taken the Warner's.
The 80s was a wild time.
Yeah, I've taken the Warner Brothers backlot tour, and it's so funny because now when you watch certain movies, especially TV shows, you're like, I know exactly where that is. They have one section where there's like some trees and there's like a little incline, and so anytime they have to do any kind of outdoor jungle thing, they film it at that spot, and it's only from this one angle. You'll notice once you see it and you know it. You'll notice it's the same angle at every TV show and every movie because that's the only angle this works because there's buildings all the way around it on all sides except for this one narrow area. And it's just, funny. It's great. That's a fun tour. If you ever get a chance to do that one, that one's worth checking out.
I would love to do that one someday. I love the pet shop scene at the very end too. Go ahead. Like when he's going, I mean, you talk about putting him in like this. I mean, really, the pet shop's on fire. He's got to save all the animals except the snakes. I love that every time he walks past the snakes, he's like.
And I love the music.
But he does.
Oh, he opens the monkey cages because they can help him. Okay, boy, let's go.
Yes. I'll let you guys out. You can help me. But I love it that the snakes, he saves them in the end. And then he collapses from carrying them out of the pet shop. And that's how I knew that Pee Wee is a better person than I am, because the snakes would have stayed if it were me. I'm like, birds. Sorry.
And then
I love animals.
it leads into the hospital scene, which in a movie that is so weird, that might be the weirdest section.
Yeah.
Which is saying something. That is straight up.
Yeah.
That is straight up German expressionism. That's like 1930s German expressionism, and that's perfect for Burton and to play with. And that is just, oh my gosh, yeah. The swirling backgrounds and the odd kiltered angles, and yeah.
It's definitely very much Burton-esque, and I like that.
And then Twisted Sister.
So.
Yeah. Do you think that was written in, or do you think like they were just like happened to be around that day?
They were like actually filming. They were actually like filming a music video.
These guys were probably at one of their concerts and went, "Hey, you want to be in our movie?"
I'm sure Danny Elfman knew him, if nothing else. I mean, they Oingo Boingo and Twisted Sister. I'm sure they ran in some of the same circles.
Oh, I'm sure the LA music circle was not that big. Yeah. But oh god, going through the Godzilla set is one of my favorites. It's like the explosions, like, sorry. Swinging,
and then there's the Santa movie. God. Yes, Swinging on the Vine is classic. It is like it's so over the top. Everything's over the top, but him swinging with the bike across on the vine is just awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but every time I chuckle.
Oh, and then I think my favorite gag is when they're having the movie premiere and they dub his voice. Paging Mr. Herman.
Paging Mr. Herman.
And he's so giddy because that's him. They've completely replaced his voice.
I love how well he played the character playing this character in the movie because he's like standing awkwardly in the shot, and when they move the camera, he awkwardly moves back into the shot. And he's looking up at the camera, breaking the fourth wall all over the place, doesn't even care. Like, this is awesome. It's exactly what Pee Wee would do.
I want to see like the script for sections like that.
Oh,
you know, like, does it say to do that, or did he decide to do that? Yeah.
And you're right, Jake. That is that character trying to pretend to be a bellboy and not know. Oh, yeah. That's just so into character. Absolutely.
And the best part is at the very end when he and Dottie decide to ride off. And she's like, "Don't you want to stay and watch the movie?" "I lived it, Dottie." And then they ride off across the movie screen. Like, it's a great ending.
It just works. Like, this is such an iconic movie. Like, you think about it. There are so many parts of this movie that's just in the public consciousness. You got Large Marge, I'm a Rebel, a Loner, the Alamo, just so many parts to this are just so classic.
If you decide to take a trip to San Antonio and you tell your friends you're going to visit the Alamo and they don't tell you to ask about the basement in the Alamo, you need to find better friends because they should say that to you. Sorry. That's just how I feel.
That tour guide, this is Adobe. Juan is making tortillas.
Well, and I love her as an actress too. Like, every movie that she's in, I like, seriously, she steals the scene, you know? Again, there's so many people in this movie that you're like, oh my gosh, I remember them from this, this, that, and this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know any of their names, but
but you recognize them.
But I like them.
I remember seeing them.
I like them.
Yeah. It's
all right. What were you going to say, Tracy? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, it's just such a classic movie.
It is a classic movie. And it is good to go back. You know, it's always sad when someone that was in a movie or did a performance or multiple performances that mean a lot to you, when they pass, it's obviously very sad. But it is great to be able to go back and review the work that they did and remember why they mattered so much. And for me, like, Pee Wee was a big part of growing up for me because I remember watching Pee Wee's Playhouse on Saturday mornings, and Yeah.
Every time I could scream. Like, that's what they said.
Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do. They said the word. And this movie too, like, I think it's important to look at what he contributed to the world of filmmaking and to the world of entertainment. He was definitely very talented and will be missed.
Yeah.
So, but now we have to grade his movie. So now we can be harsh or kind. I don't care. You guys.
I mean, I think we all know that we all enjoyed this movie because this.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. I'll kick it off. This to me, not only is it nostalgia, it still holds up. Like the jokes still land. It's still like sometimes you watch it and you cringe and you're like, oh, okay, I'm laughing because I remember laughing when I was a kid, but I'm still entertained by this. And like I said, go back if you haven't seen some of his stuff. I didn't watch Letterman when I was a kid because it was too late in the evening, so I hadn't seen some of these performances. And then later, even when he had cancer, he'd still go on some of the talk shows because he was friends with the guys and just wanted to like hang out with them. So he was on Conan quite a bit. Some of those performances are really, really funny. The writing's great. Just really, really funny show. A for me.
Same. A for me.
Yeah.
You said all the things.
All right, Jake.
Yeah. No, this movie is great to me. And I do recognize that Pee Wee Herman is not a character that everybody enjoys. And if you don't enjoy Pee Wee Herman as a character, you're not going to enjoy this movie. It doesn't matter how well written it is. It doesn't matter how, like, if you don't like Pee Wee, you're not going to like this movie. And I get that. My wife is not a Pee Wee fan, and that's okay. And she, watching this movie did not win her over any more than she was won over before. So I recognize that. But movies are subjective in a lot of ways. To me, whether you enjoy a movie or not, it's completely subjective. I like this one. I'm giving it an A as well. Like I said, this puts Tim Burton and Danny Elfman on a course that they've made some of my favorite movies of all time together. And so this is where it starts. That makes this AAA rated.
Nice.
So, I like it.
Jake brings it home.
I like it. Yeah, I'm not usually the one that ruins it from being a AAA rated movie.
You're not, but you brought it home.
I tried to build the suspense a little bit, but I'm sure everybody saw right through it.
Is he going to do it? Is he going to go?
Is he going to do an A? He's probably going to give it a B. Oh, I hate him.
So Jake,
bringing everything down.
Way to Jake that up, Jake.
Way to Jake that up. Well, on that note, thank you everyone for listening, for watching. We appreciate your support. We are so glad to be back doing this after a few weeks of not. We'll try to get some more episodes up as well after this. But please keep in mind that we are raising money for the American Cancer Society. If you can, if you're able and you would like to, we would be so grateful to any contribution you can make to that. We'll make sure the links are included where you can see it. Go ahead.
And if you donate $100, Jake will tell you his sarcasm story offline.
Ooh. It's for the charity, Jake.
I'm just kidding. I didn't. That was just supposed to be a joke. You don't have to share your stories with anybody.
Yeah,
if you donate $100, I'll tell you, Jake.
$200, and Val and I will tell it together.
You guys,
we will reenact it.
I'm going to tell you this.
What it is.
You know, I'm going to tell you this, and it is going to be the biggest disappointment of your weekend. I promise. I have made this way bigger than it is.
Right.
Keep in mind as well that soon we will be announcing a date for a big trivia night at the Midway. We're working on some plans there. If you have not attended that with us in the past, it's a lot of fun. We had some great turnout last time that we did it. We had a lot of fun with the trivia. Tracy wore a princess hat.
I did. That's
we'll see if we get a whole dress for this one in preparation for the Dopey run.
Maybe I should. I might have to order that dress in advance because I'm doing the I'm doing Rapunzel for the 5K at Walt Disney World, so maybe I'll have to make the debut appearance.
And Jake and I are just going to dress up as her hair. That's it. We'll just stand behind Tracy the whole time.
We're going to get like Cousin It costumes and just follow Tracy around. Just big hair following Tracy everywhere. I still feel like you were trolled in who they picked for the Princess Tracy.
Oh, totally. They totally wanted the hair. Yeah. That's the main. It was between Princess Leia with the buns or Rapunzel with the long hair. Yeah.
You're going to hate that running with that hair, man. Ugh.
It's a 5K. I can do that.
Okay.
If it was like a 10K with 5K.
Yeah. Cool.
It's a 5K.
I have a blonde wig if you want to
5K.
borrow it.
Well, the 5K I walk, so there's no time limit. I walk that sucker.
Cool.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Donate.
Go donate. We appreciate the contributions. And if we get over our goal by the time we're doing the trivia night, we're still going to raise money because they won't stop taking it from us if we give it to them. So,
plus we have a lot of prizes
like
to
most
give away.
charities,
and we just want to see you in person.
Yeah, we've got some good stuff.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening, for watching. We appreciate your support. And until next time, tell them Large Marge sent you.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.